Super. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you're in Toronto?
Yeah, just outside of Toronto.
I'm going to be there in September for a week. My daughter's going up to shoot a Netflix series up there, and I'm going to visit her in September.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Do you think you might get up here and maybe play a concert sometime in the near future?
I would love to when those things are not matters of life and death. I, I think
We only just came out of lockdown, right? Like 3-4 weeks ago. We're way behind you guys.
I
So.
know. I've got a good friend, actually a high school friend that lives in Toronto, and he actually drove across the border to go get his shot. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
I guess he's still an American citizen, but he loves Toronto. He just he was dismayed at the pace of the vaccinations.
Ironically, now we're ahead of everybody else as far as vaccinations, but we have no in-country manufacturing, and that slowed us down, right?
Yeah. Well, good on you, as you say.
Right. Right.
I'm glad you caught up and passed us. I can't believe that we're still less than 50%. We're right around 50%. God, it's shock. It's, it shouldn't be shocking, but it is.
What did vaccination mean for you? Because you actually contracted COVID. Does that mean that you're now immune to it?
I don't know. I don't know. I had a pretty strong reaction to the vaccine. I think that was expected. If you'd had COVID, I guess you already had antibodies. So my sense is my body was like, hey, seen that before. So
right.
That's not a medical term I'm using there. The hey, seen that before is not actually what the doctors say. So, I mean, I was happy. I was happy just to feel, I think what gets lost in all this is, yes, one should take care of oneself, but a lot of the mask mandate, the vaccinations, it's really about keeping other people safe, that we are breathing the same air,
Yeah.
It's the selfishness of not playing along, of not trying to be a good community member it's not shocking, it's distressing to me.
Yeah, I agree. So listen, I saw that your last album was attached to Pledge. Did you get stuck in the swale of the Pledge music campaigns all going down?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So I did a bit of research on your last two albums, and I saw that Every Third Thought was a Pledge music campaign, and Pledge music went down and took a whole bunch of people's money with them, and artists' money. So
God, I'm not even aware. I'm not. I mean, that shows you what kind of businessman I am. I don't know. I'm going to talk to my man Brad Davidson when we get off the phone here.
All right. All right. So where do you think you will release physical product of Gestureland? Because I went on your website and you've still got some old product there. Do you think you're going to release anything physical?
Yeah, I mean, where does one? It's just going to be vinyl. So where does one release vinyl? I guess those places, but mostly the physical artifact of the album these days is really it's a piece of merch. For the most part, it's an artifact. It's a memento. Unfortunately, I mean, I grew up buying and loving albums and fetishizing them. Just like keeping them close and touching them and reading them over and over and over and over again. So I love the fact that I get to make vinyl. The fact that somebody won't be like going through the vinyl bins in a store and chancing upon mine or looking for mine. Well, that's just the way the world has changed. But no, I think it's really like a T-shirt at this point, a vinyl album.
Cool. So can you describe how you approach writing music? Is it different than when you're approaching writing a novel?
Oh yeah. Well, with a novel, I either I'll have an idea, I'll have a few ideas, but I'll interrogate them and kind of see what they are, how heavy they could, what kind of structure they could bear, what kind of unfolding a plot, of a nature, of a character. You know, there's a certain kind of a weight to a novel idea that I have to feel in order to think that I can go forward with it. A song usually will just happen if I have a chord progression that I've been playing that I like, or I have a lyric that I like, or a little bit of a melody that I like that I'm looking for chords for. And then it's just like throw it up into, then it's just something that happens like in the air in the moment, you know. And most of the songs get written fairly quickly, over an hour or a couple days. Some of them have taken a long time. Some of them are 2/2 songs that I throw together. Some of them are a verse that I come up with. Then I lay it on a band and I let them come up with the rest, or a chorus or a bridge or something. And you know, there's really no, starting a novel is always kind of the same, where I have an idea, I interrogate it, I do a little research, and I either go or I don't. And the songs are very different the way they happen. I do know that they are of the moment, you know. And I've been watching the the Rick Rubin Paul McCartney show on Apple TV, which is fascinating.
Right.
And you just, because you're listening to him talk about songs that seem as inevitable as the weather, and you're realizing that it was his mood. It was he had to pee, he was hungry,
Yeah.
they needed to have it in 20 minutes, they had a new toy, you know. And it's like, yeah, that's my experience of writing a song, is very, very of the moment, very just what's happening now. And if I tried to write a particular song today, it would be a different song than the song I would try to write tomorrow.
It's really, your storytelling in such a short increment of time as well. I've got 500 pages or whatever to do a novel and tell your full story. You're conveying something so short, and it has to be very concise. It's different.
Yeah, well, I mean, my approach to that, and again, it's interesting to hear, you know, Paul talk about lyrics that have become kind of monumental, and then you realize, they were just throwaways at the time. But I actually watched a Paul Simon interview with Dick Cavett. I don't know if you've ever watched the old Dick Cavett stuff. It's good.
Not all of it, no.
It was good interviewing, and Paul was really articulate about songwriting. And they were talking about The Graduate and Mrs. Robinson, and Cavett asked, well, how did that happen? And Paul said, well, I was trying to score a chase scene, so I was going that riff. And I was like, well, yeah, now that makes sense. That does sound a little bit like a car chase. And then at first it was Where Have You Gone, Mrs. Roosevelt?
Right.
And then Cavett said, well, why Joe DiMaggio? Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? And he was like, well, it was just something that like had the right amount of syllables, and it came to me, and I knew that it meant something. I just didn't know what it meant yet.
Right.
And that's really what songwriting is like. You stuff comes to you. Some of it is logical. Some of it is tracking. But then because of rhyme or a syllable count or whatever, you're forced to just grab shit out of the air.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go, that means something. I don't know what it means, but that means something. I'll figure out what that means later. Yeah.
With the preamble that came along with the press release on this album, you're likened to the Wallflowers and Wilco, which I can hear on some of the songs, but I heard a little bit more Built to Spill, like some of that sort of the reverb on some of the guitar solos in the songs. This reminded me of that kind of a recording style.
Yeah, well, that's all, you know, production and arranging. That's really something that's collaborative with my guys, with my band, with Colin and Pat. But I mean, my kind of music education is limited. So, but my exposure to music is not, especially because I'm a lot older than those guys. So I've heard a lot more songs than they have.
Yeah.
So I will say, there's a song, hold on, I want it to sound a little more like this. For instance, with like Nights Are Harder. I was in Vancouver. And I watched Neil Young. I'm not just talking about Canadians because you're in Toronto, but I went to see Neil Young, and he did a solo like in the middle of his, at the end of either Cinnamon Girl or Down by the River, where literally it was like a 10-minute solo where he ended up on the ground with the guitar, and it looked like they were just wrestling. Like I didn't know, I don't know who won, but it was a good match. And I said to Pat, that's the kind of feel I want. Aside from that, garage band, a little chunky, muddy guitar riff at the end, because he plays out to a long solo. At the end, I just want to feel like you're fighting the guitar, like you're trying to make a sound that you're not getting. So, and you're going to keep on rephrasing it until you get it. And I love that. I love that idea. I mean, I liken it to acting, where people will ask me who's my favorite actors, and I don't like to talk about that, but I'll say, I think the best actor I've ever seen is Meryl Streep. Like, I wouldn't say she's my favorite actor, because it seems to me that she can do everything, and I find that almost unrelatable.
Right.
And she doesn't have to wrestle her guitar at all. Like her guitar, I mean, I'm sure she works her ass off. So my apologies to her if this sounds like an insult, because it's not, because she's the best. But it's like, I love the wrestling against limitations. I love the fight against your own instrument. That's just either your own skill, your own instrument, your own talent. To me, that's what art is all about. Less the beauty of it and more the struggle to get something out through what you've been given, if that makes any sense.
Well, that's a nice segue into what was it like parking these songs for almost a year and coming back to them after the pandemic? How much did they change, and what did you bring to them because of the pandemic?
I think they changed a lot in terms of production, in terms of the sounds we were going for, because we had a long time to live with them, because we were nearly done when we had to shut down. So we had worked the songs, we had thought about them, we had lived them for a while, and then when we shut down, then we had to live with them for a lot longer without being able to touch them. Because at that point, the melodies weren't going to change, the chords weren't going to change. What might change was the production. And for me, it's always about the emotionality of a song. The sound, obviously, I want it to be pleasing in some way. I want it to hit my ear in a way that I like, and I only have my ear. I'm not trying to game the system. I'm not trying to figure out what the marketplace, what that ear wants. I couldn't ever. I don't have it in me. So it's really just, I'm like the audience that I'm going for, in a way, because I kind of trust my musical taste. It's all I have, really. I'm not a great player. I'm not a great singer, but I have a good ear. I think I do. So that's what I go off. And so the songs, as we were had them for 9-10 months, a year, whatever, we all started to have different kind of relationships to the sounds. And I think when it came time to produce and arrange again, to finish them up, we had different ideas. And I think we stretched out a little bit. And I think we took more chances and used a varied approach sometimes. Just little things like Mind of Winter. It was one of those songs that just started. And I always, just personally, I jump when a song starts like that. I like to have a little warning that a song's going to start, even if it's like the Sticks or whatever, or a synth pad. But I was like, synth pad it's just, I don't want to do that again. So Colin had written these charts for the horns in the chorus, and I said, "Can you separate those out and just can I hear those?" And so he sent those to me, and I said, "Let's start with that." And he was like, "But I didn't write them to like be naked like that." And I said, "It's okay. It's just let's just start like that." And to me, it sounded almost like Philip Glass, like Koyana Squatsi. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I love that sound. Right now, obviously, totally different ball game here, but it was kind of that droning change without change, that I liked. And then I found when the horns do play in the chorus, you can hear them better because your ear has been attuned to them in the
Yeah.
beginning. So,
Yeah. That was one of the tunes that I was drawn to because of the horns, and I like that the horns were like not buried. 2 minutes into the song, you led with them, and
right.
it
So
helps it out a lot.
So that's the best answer to your question, in that that would not have happened had I not lived with it for a long time and jumped every time that fucking song started.
Right. I noticed that you want to announce some tour dates. I imagine putting a tour together right now is much more of a logistic than it would have been 2 years ago. Is there anything that's coalescing at the moment?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Certainly not around the release of the album. That's too soon. I don't. I think we have the Delta variant. We have spikes. It's just impossible to tell. And I'm not I'm not playing outdoor festivals of 45,000 people. I'm playing smaller venues where people are inside, and it's just not smart. As much as I do love to tour. I love to play live, and I love to support the album. I want to, and I will eventually. I don't want to make it a matter of life and death.
No, you're going to be in a box with a whole bunch of different people that have got different stuff, and
Exactly.
I get that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not just me. I mean, as I had it, I'm vaccinated. I feel fairly safe about myself. I just don't want to ask other people to do that.
Right. I didn't know that your audiobooks were narrated by yourself. And just this morning went on and saw that you've literally narrated everything that you've written. So I'm way more interested in your books now because I know I'm going to hear them with your candor. So kudos for doing that. Do you feel that it brings something different to something that you've written, that you're able to articulate it yourself?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because I'm going to say something sad about that. I've only recently started to conceive of that as something that I didn't resent, because I thought like the first two books that I did, Holy Cow and Bucky Fucking Dead, I was busy when I had to do the audiobook. Didn't have much time. And I also thought, I want people to read these books. I wrote them to be read. I didn't write them to be listened to. And then I gave a begrudging performance of the book. Plus, as the writer of the book, I thought, these words are meant to work. I'm not going to inflate them. I'm not going to perform them. I had this kind of chip on my shoulder, and it's possible that you can hear that. When it came to finally, I finally, because I'd never really listened to audiobooks, and then I finally came around to the fact that this is a way that people enjoy books, and it's legitimate, and people don't have that much time, and they have time to listen, and so Truly Like Lightning, I tried to do my best on that. I think I haven't listened to it. I'm told that it's not the best audio because I had to record it in my house during the lockdown. They people in hazmat suits came in and they set up the rig and then disinfected, and they left. And then I sat there for 6 or 7 days during December, in my closet for soundproofing to read it. And I guess maybe it doesn't sound as great as it might in the studio, but I tried. And also with this Amazon Audible, I tried to think, this is not just relaying the words as I wrote them. This is a different performance. This is a different medium. Maybe something else is needed.
There are some good audiobooks out there. David Sedaris, Neil Gaiman, they're better because they're narrating them.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say mine are better. Not yet. Maybe if I get a chance to do them again. In fact, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind re-recording. Not that anybody's interested, but I'd like another shot at Bucky fucking down. Yeah. But then again, it's something to think about, like handing it over to somebody else, and I'd like to audition that as well. I'd like to hear.
Right. Morgan Freeman, he's waiting.
The voice of God.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like being Special Agent Denise Bryson in Twin Peaks? That was the first time that I'd ever seen you on screen, and you were in drag, and I like that.
Oh. Downhill ever since. I think that was such a exciting time, because I was just like trying to get work, auditioning, and Twin Peaks was a huge show. Huge. It's hard to, it was so huge, but for such a short time, it's hard, unless you were there, it's hard to imagine how huge it was. But before the internet, it was a cultural phenomenon. Before cable, it was a cable show on network television. So what happened was James Spader, the actor, was very good friends with Mark Frost, who was running the show with David Lynch and writing it. And they had come up with this idea of a cross-dressing DEA agent. And I guess James got busy before he could do it. So the part got thrown to the world. Right. And they just auditioned people. And Joanna Ray, who was the casting agent, I had read for her a couple of times, and she was a fan of mine and she'd try to get me work and had been unsuccessful so far. And I came in and I auditioned and I got it, and just didn't know what to do, really, just like on my own, just figured out things to do, and had a great time doing it. I mean, it was the second season of that show, and it was already kind of flaming out in many ways. But for me, it was just a wonderful experience to be able to be there at that time with those people, and also to inhabit such an interesting idea of a character.
I mean, up until that point, we had Klinger on MASH, right? And it was tongue in cheek. So it wasn't, your character was taken seriously. And I thought that was really cool and well handled.
And I loved when we came back and we did the show in 2015.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my favorite lines in the whole thing was when David's character, the FBI, I don't know what he is. He says to me, I told them to fix their hearts or die. It was this line, about, people that distrusted me or underestimated me. I told them to fix their hearts or die. And I was like, wow, that's a fucking great line.
Right. And you advanced. You were chief of staff at FBI. I thought that was great. It was just like, oh yeah, still there. And super senior. That was awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I wish I'd had, I always say about the whole experience that I wish the show had gone on for a couple more years and I could have been a recurring character. I wish I could have played that character more. And I wish there would have been more for me to do in the reboot as well. But, obviously story demands are story demands. It's not a cop show in that way.
No. It was 18 hours of unbridled Lynch, and it was what it was. So
there was no episode breaks. It was one script.
It was like 18-hour movie, and it just got chopped into pieces, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I loved it. I thought it was great. It's a avant-garde television, and I watched it repeatedly.
Yeah, right. I mean, the fact that happened. I mean, that it happened in the first place, that it was on ABC
Yeah.
in the first place. I mean, who hired David Lynch of Eraserhead and Blue Velvet to
Who
make an
thought that up? I know.
ABC show? And then, now it's less shocking that Showtime would have it because, it's prestige television, whatever. But yeah, he's a singular artist. He's a singular vision. And when they give him, he had 100% control. So that's what you got.
Yeah. So what's the next year look like for you then? What do you have on your plate? What's coming up that you're allowed to talk about?
I have this movie that I did with Judd Apatow called The Bubble, which will be on Netflix. It's a big comedy about a bunch of silly actors who decide it's a good idea to make an action movie during the pandemic, and they go into a bubble.
Sounds awesome.
Of the title, and realize that they can't stand each other, and try to escape the movie at different times, try to escape back out into the real world, which is shut down. I did a little part for Amanda Peet, who's a friend of mine, who's got a show on Netflix that she's showrunning and created called The Chair, starring Sandra Oh, that is set in, it's like the infighting of colleges. It's an academic comedy.
Cool.
And I've been developing Truly Like Lightning as a series for Showtime, and I'm trying to push that boulder up the hill to get to a point where I can act in it, not direct it, but just produce and act in it.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. That's 25-30 minutes. I appreciate your time and your candor, and I like the album. I want to buy a monument. So when you do have physical product, I just need to
buy an artifact. Okay.
I want an artifact.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.